Habitat for Humanity of Elkhart County does more than build houses for those in need. They provide education on personal finance, homeownership, parenting, and other life skills to help those moving into these houses turn them into homes. Habitat for Humanity of Elkhart County, working with people from all walks of life to build simple, decent, affordable homes. For more information on how you can help, visit www.habitatec.com.
Well, Penny, here we are on the glass line. First thing I want you to look at are these bundles of glass right here. We're going to talk about those a little later, but I just want to make sure you remember those. Here we have glass that's already cut. We'll be taking a look at that in a minute. But as Andy had mentioned earlier, this glass is basically scrap glass that would normally end up in a landfill. So we purchase the scrap, millions and millions of pounds per year, and we cut it up and begin this entire process. Now let's take a look at it getting cut up. Well, you see right here, this is actually the glass, the scrap glass, before it's cut. Typically, you want to cut it and make sure that our strands are roughly about 5 inches long. This glass gets thrown into this long conveyor. It works its way through a series of conveyor belts and pickers and different things of that nature that open up the glass so that the individual strands are separated. And now I'll show you where that ends up. Alright, so you saw the glass get cut and then it was on the conveyor systems, comes through. It's going to just drop from there into that other conveyor system that's just opening it more and separating it. And there's some scales there that will weigh the product and make sure that we have the proper amount of glass per square inch. And then it's dumped into a conveyor system. Let's go look at that. Okay. So here you see the glass falling. It's also getting mixed with recycled glass going through our system. Over here, we've got the mixture of the glass going through this giant machine here that I like to say is like a giant washing machine. Just tumbling and tumbling and mixing the product a little bit more and a little bit more. It's going to go along this system here that's known as the 410. And in the 410, it goes up and then it splits. Then we have the north side of the line and the south side of the line. Now here what you have is the material coming through the 410. It goes through these machinery here called garnets, basically further opened and further separated and even more importantly, evenly distributed. We've got our material coming through, all our pure glass. But we make different types of insulation. We've got our texture fine, we have our texture soft. Well, the main difference between the texture soft and the texture fine is one uses a small portion of phenolic resin and the other one uses absolutely no phenolic resin. Assuming we were making texture fine, resin from this machine would be transported and go into this box back here that's known as a forming section. It would create our product. If we're making texture soft, then no resin would go through and the product would just go through as you see it. Now look how thick that glass is.
Yeah, that's pretty thick.
What's so amazing here is that the glass is now formed and is going to go into our oven. The flights go from about a ½ inch to 6 inches in thickness. So that big piece of glass is going to amaze you here shortly. Remember our 16 inches of glass we had before?
Yes.
Now look at it.
Wow.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now right here, we have our chopper, which does two things. One, first of all, it cuts the product to the proper length, which is measured on the other side. But the other thing, if the quality inspector wants to come and do a spot check, or if the employees are checking the product, they can cut a piece off and immediately do a test before it gets to the package.
So what happens to the scraps on the end when the rolls are cut?
Aha. Remember earlier I told you, remember the bundles?
Yes.
And then remember you asked, well, where does that come from?
Yes.
Well, these pieces on the end are called edge trim. Obviously, when we cut the width, they're kind of scraggly on the end. We want the customer to get a good product. But doesn't mean these things should get wasted. So we take them over here. So now we take the edge trim, round it through this machine here, make these amazing bales. These bales are then transported back to the beginning, and voila, there is the